You know what? You missed the best bit. I've got to start again. Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. ONANA, not yet. That's the joke's sort of lost on the fact that I muted myself, but the transfer is a little bit muted at the moment around ONANA, but it's not ONANA just yet, but it will be today. It will be today. And also, as I was just saying to nobody apart from myself, Erik ten Hag faces a huge transfer boost from Saudi with not 2 but 3 Manchester United players potentially on the list for Manchester United to sell to Saudi Arabia. And we've got to be all over that pie because there's a lot of clubs getting a lot of Saudi pie at the moment. You've seen it with bloody Liverpool selling off midfielders they don't want for about 60 million quid. This could be massive for Manchester United. We've also got some breaking news coming out from The Athletic around the sale of Manchester United, which, you know, has gone very quiet, and it's probably not going to be the news that you would want from Manchester United in relation to the sale at the moment. So lots to get into, as I said there. But don't forget, as always, on our morning shows at the moment and throughout the tour, we're sponsored by these people.
Football fanatics, get ready. The United Stand pre-season tour is here, powered by OneFootball, the ultimate app for live scores, transfers and match stats. Download now. No one gets you closer.
Links in the video description. You can also scan the QR code, which is next to me there. OneFootball, download it for free. Get all your latest breaking football news, etc., etc. Now, look, on ONANA, we will be reacting to ONANA. Here we go at some point. Fabrizio said last night at 11 o'clock, go to bed. I don't live with Fabrizio. He was just saying, go to bed. It's not going to be here we go tonight. Why is it not here we go? Some people are saying, why is ONANA not here we go? Because remember, there's that big difference between here we go and holding up the shirt. ONANA's not holding up the shirt today. He won't be holding up the shirt till middle of next week. United are going to take their time on this as they always do. Here we go just means we've reached agreement. Welcome. Thank you very much for gifting a membership, James. So why has this deal not been done? We believe it's about little tiny bits. The principle of the deal is done. It's just about how much United pay up front and how much is going to be left. Apparently it's about a couple of million, but DiMarzio said last night, agreement done, you know, ONANA signs, but ultimately it's not actually here we go yet, which is something very different. When Fabrizio says here we go, he just basically means the deal's done apart from the medical and the actual holding up of the shirt. So we're not quite at that point yet. So yeah, we're not quite there yet, but apparently it will be today. I think Mason Mount was a here we go on a Friday. So yeah, 2 weeks ago Mason Mount now, by the way. But yeah, it will happen. The more interesting thing for me this morning is the actual news that's coming out, and we're going to start off with The Athletic. There has been no communication between the sellers of Manchester United and any potential buyers since Sheikh Jassim's last bid for the club in early June. So you're talking 5-6 weeks. There has been no contact from Manchester United with the sellers of, basically United, the Glazers, the Rain Group have not had any contact with Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Jassim in 6 weeks. In the most important transfer window in recent history, in what is an absolutely pivotal transfer window for Erik ten Hag in season 2, the Glazers have sat and done nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. They are just sat there, business as usual. The Glazers haven't, and this is the second part, the Glazers haven't sold Manchester United because no one has hit their asking price. I mean, I don't want to give people, high blood pressure on a Friday morning, but I did do a video on this. Was it last Saturday? Maybe the Saturday before. And I said, ultimately, people need to wake up and smell the coffee. I'm not going to rant at you this morning. We're going to get here we go. I think ONANA is going to be a really transformative signing for Manchester United, and so is Mason Mount. But last night, I'm looking at Twitter because I'm waiting for Fabrizio, and there's people going, oh, you know what, Mount for 55 million and ONANA for 45 million. They're what brilliant signings by Murta and Hargreaves. And I'm like, God, some of our fan base are like dogs. And I mean, I like dogs. And what I mean is they're just so forgiving. If your dog, if you drop a muffin on the floor and it's your last muffin and your dog just eats it instinctively and you go, naughty dog, what have you done that for? And they sort of go and sit in their bed a bit sad. And then you say, do you want to go for a walk? They'll be like wagging their tail and licking your feet. And I think some of our fans are like that. Like, they've got absolutely no resistance to United's PR, to United's incompetence. They just lap anything up. Oh, ONANA and Mason Mount. Oh, Team Murta. Murta madness. It's Murta madness. He signed 2 players for their actual asking price. What a guy. And I think, this is why they win. I said this the other day, I'm pro-youth. I want the youth. I think that's what Man United is. And you can take a 7-second clip and make it sound like it wasn't. But ultimately, I still stand by what I said. If you want 3 or 4 youth players to get promoted to the first team, you are Glazer in, because Erik ten Hag has said he only will promote players who are better than what he's got. And at the moment, we haven't got 4 youth players that are better than he's got. So he'd be using them because he hasn't got the money to spend, which means he's basically, having to live a Glazer life, which is not something we should be championing, I don't think. But, it's always down to individual choice. And as for Murta madness, well, madness in an angry way, this summer transfer window is about selling, and we can't sell. So, wow, we've spent £100 million. Murta madness. Do you not think Man United's transfer budget every summer should be £200 million? Wow, we've spent £100 million. Wow, Man United, we spent £100 million. Murta madness. Let's go. Woo, 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 what a summer. And I'm like, am I missing something here? Have we also bought Harry Kane and kept it quiet? United spend £100 million. And I think that, when you look at it, I said this last week, the Glazers, I just don't think they're looking to go. I think it's business as usual. And every signing we make, and every appointment we make, and every sale we don't make, this just makes me believe that they're not going anywhere. They've got no intention of going anywhere until they want to go. And we were led to believe that this sale was going to happen in March. We were led to believe that the Glazers were desperate to get out. We were led to believe that the Glazers would get a deal done really quickly. It's middle of July. The club's been up for sale for 8 months. And they're still sat there doing the same thing they've done for the last 8 years and longer. So I just, it's 6-7 weeks since Sheikh Jassim or Sir Jim has had any contact. And yet this summer is pivotal. And they're just sat there going, what? So what? So what? Get Zakaria as a backup for Casemiro, says Acid. And that we have not bid for Højlund stresses me so much. Still hoping for him going on tour, but there is no way they make it in time, says Simone. I still think there's big confidence from Højlund's side that deal will happen. I mean, if I speak, I'm in trouble. But all I can say is it's certainly not as bad as some people were reporting yesterday. I think there's a real optimism and confidence that deal can still happen. It's just, I don't know, you're probably right, it doesn't happen for the tour, which is absolutely disgusting. But yeah, look, signing players is great, but the sale of the football club is far bigger. It's like stubbing your toe, isn't it? If you compare in an analogy, signing players is like Man United stubbing their toe and healing it with a plaster and some medicine, but their other leg is being chewed off by a shark. Oh, I fixed my stubbed toe. You're about to lose your other leg, and it's probably going to eat your chest as well. The sale transcends any conversation we have about any player, manager, transfer policy, ins and outs. The sale will dictate our future, and it's sort of been allowed to disappear. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, or maybe I read it on social media, and they were like, it's great we're getting ONANA, and I like Mason Mount, and hopefully we will get Højlund, but I can't believe that this fan base and media has allowed the sale of the football club to just disappear. For 6 or 7 months, nobody would ever shut up about the sale. It was about Sir Jim. It was Sir Jim against Qatar. It was sports washing against, Sir Jim and he's putting the Manchester back into Manchester. Nobody would shut up about it. Mainstream, TV, news outlets, nobody would shut up about the sale of Man United. Oh, this, that and the other. Oh, la, 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 la. And then, we hit the summer, most important time of all, and they're all there just going, can I come on the tour? Can I ask a question about Mason Mount? Oh, ONANA, De Gea. They're just completely... And this is why you can't trust the media, because they don't have the best interests of the fans at heart. They don't have the best interest at all. They've gone completely quiet on the sale. And the only reason we're talking about this morning is, in fairness, The Athletic have just given an update that there's not been any update for 6 weeks. I'm not going to dwell on it any longer than the update, but reality, when's the Glazers going, Rio? When's the Glazers going, Gary? When's the Glazers going, Samuel? When's the Glazers going, John? I'm just throwing out names now. Carol. Nobody's got a bloody clue, and they will just continue. Now, my personal feeling is they can't be in charge for the Wolves game because there'll be massive protests, but it's not like there's not been protests before. It's a sickener, isn't it? Nick P says, the most inspiring thing John Murtagh has done is take a weekend break in Barcelona. It will make me think I need to take more holidays, says Nick. Look, if United's recruitment team want praise, then sell some players. Sell some players. That's what this summer will all be about. I was reading last night, somebody was saying that, ONANA and Mason Mount have shown, the deals for Mason Mount and ONANA have shown a real change in United's transfer policy, that they won't be bent over and that they will take their time to get good deals. And, this should stand United in good stead for the rest of the summer. And I was like, hold on a minute, are they reading a different book to me? Did you ever go to school and do English literature or English, and you all read a book and someone does a book review and you're like, that's not the book. You've read Spot the Dog. We were all reading Romeo and Juliet. What are you talking about? A dog pushing a ball. What about Romeo and Juliet getting it on? Let's talk about that, And I'm like, are people reading a different transfer window to me? Oh, United's transfer policy has changed. We've shown that we can't be bent over anymore. We've sold absolutely nobody, and we never shut up about financial fair play. So that's failure. And correct me if I'm wrong, £55 million for Mason Mount is not a fantastic deal. £45 million for ONANA is not a fantastic deal. They are standard deals. So are we meant to praise our recruitment team now for doing standard deals? Like Alexi McAllister for 37 million from Liverpool is a brilliant deal. I like Mason Mount. I like ONANA. I'm talking about the fees here. That we're being fed shit again, that we're negotiating a lot better. We're taking weeks and weeks and weeks still, which is ridiculous. We're still ridiculously slow, but instead of being ripped off, we're now paying market value. It's a step in the right direction. A couple of years ago, we'd probably give Chelsea 90 million for Mount. We'd probably give Inter 70 million for ONANA. But 45 and 55, that's not cheap for those players. That's probably their market value. So we're playing market value still at a slow pace. I'm telling you now, you can praise those people. If Sir Jim Radcliffe gets the club, he's going to sack them because they'll want to bring in competent people. We are still a very, very slow club at transfers. What takes the biscuit is Birmingham City already got bought yesterday, says Ray. I really think they're trying to raise funds to stay, says John. I mean, look, that everybody's destination, everybody's journey is yours to put in your sat nav. I'm not going to direct you. Nobody in the chat should direct you. Nobody in life should direct you. But if the Glazers stay in charge of this football club, I already think that football is, soul destroying anyway at times. I love it. I love the game. I'm never going to turn my back on it. I love football. It's been my life, but it's already soul destroying. There's a lot of things that happen in football that really are ripping the soul out of it. And if the Glazers stay at this football club, I just don't know. I mean, every one of us would be a hypocrite if we allow it to happen in our hearts, because I've seen success under the Glazers. We've won Premier League titles, we've won the Champions League, and I still wanted rid of them for the reasons I've always wanted rid of them. They're a cancer on this football club. The debt, the way the club has rusted, the poor recruitment, the mates rates, putting people in footballing positions who helped them buy the football club, who are bankers. I don't want the Glazers in charge. But if they stay in charge, then, I'd be a hypocrite to start celebrating people that have caused 20 years of damage. Even if they did suddenly turn it around, they're not the right people for this football club. But what can we do? What have we ever really been able to do? Now Juventus are out of the Super League. Does that make the Glazers think Super League ain't happening near future? Glazers out, says Akil. I don't know. Look, the update is nobody's heard anything for 6 weeks, which makes it really surprising that we've had people coming out saying we've got really good sources and something's going to happen tomorrow. But it's bullshit, isn't it? It's all bullshit. Should we start protesting on the pitch like Stop Oil, says Edward? Oh, don't. I mean, I tell you what. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, what? Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about this second part of the headline. Ten Hag's huge transfer boost. As we know, I've always said that financial fair play as an excuse for Manchester United is a complete and utter nonsense. For anybody who's not been on the show for the last few weeks, basically, there's been lots and lots of stories that Manchester United can't spend much money because of financial fair play. Financial fair play is the gap between your revenue and what you spend on wages and transfers. So United are trying to say, we've got that small gap and that's all we can spend. Obviously, financial fair play, if you reduce your wages and transfers, that comes down, which means you can spend more. Chelsea have been very, very good at this. Financial fair play is not an excuse not to buy players. Financial fair play is an excuse. If you sell well, then you can spend more because you reduce your transfer and wage spend. Chelsea have done this really, really well, as we know, through selling players not only to Saudi Arabia, but to us, to Arsenal, to Manchester City, to the Serie A. They've been very, very good at it, Chelsea. And Manchester United, as we know, are notoriously incompetent at selling players. However, there could be a big boost for Eric Ten Hag here. Bless you, says Renault. Thank you very much. Saudi Arabia are interested in Tellez. Saudi Arabia are interested in Fred. Now, you've got two. If you look at Liverpool, Fabinho and Henderson, if Saudi Arabia is not in the game, they're off playing golf, which I think they've bought, actually. If Saudi Arabian football doesn't exist and all that money in Saudi Arabia doesn't exist, then you're stuck in the normal transfer market. And Liverpool would get no money for Henderson and Fabinho. They'd get next to nothing because nobody in Europe would really be able to pay the wages of Fabinho and Henderson and good transfer fees. So Liverpool would get next to nothing for Henderson and Fabinho. They're set to pocket about 60 million from selling them to Saudi Arabia, which is probably easily 50% more than that they'd get in a European market if they could get it. This is brilliant for Liverpool because it's £60 million you'd never normally get that you can throw back into your club, and it reduces your FFP and it gives you money that you didn't expect to get. It's a bit like it's an extra life. You know, if you're a gamer, it's an extra life. If you're a racer, it's a nitro boost. And ultimately, if you're not using the Saudi Arabian market, you're a prat. Because Chelsea have used it, Liverpool are going to use it, and Man United should use it. So Man United have got Tellez and Fred. I think combined, you'd do well to get 20 million quid for Fred and Tellez. You know, that could be the limit. In the European market, I think Tellez and Fred, you might only get 20 million quid. In the Saudi Arabian market, you're going to get 40 million north for both of those players because that's just the way the market's going. And United need to be tapping into that. They're both Brazilian. Brazilian players are used, because Brazil's not in Europe, Brazilian players are used to playing in Russia, Ukraine, China, the USA, Mexico, Europe, the Middle East. They're used to that. It's very different saying to Scott McTominay, they'll give you 25 million to go and play Saudi Arabia, because it's not culturally, we don't really see many British players going and playing in Europe, let alone, you know, Middle East or MLS or etc. But Brazilian players will do that because they're used to travelling. You know, they're used to not playing in their home country. So United need to tap into this, and it will be a real test of mediocre Murta, because Galatasaray, you know, Portugal, these might be places that Tellez wants to go, but United won't get any money. If Tellez goes to Saudi Arabia, we could get 15, 20 million. You know, this is not about sentiment. This is not about what the player, you know, you've got to be pushing that player to Saudi Arabia and going, look at the wages. You only need to go for a year. United need to be pushing these players out the door, because if you can suddenly raise 40 million quid from Fred and Tellez instead of 20 million, we've just doubled your pot there, haven't you? And that 40 million, with Henderson going out the door for 25, that's 65 million from 3 players. You only need to do a couple more, and you know, Alanga's probably going to go for 20, 85. You know, you're raising that £100 million, and that £100 million can then go back in for transfers where you can get yourself Amrabat. Because Amrabat worries me, because I would go higher than Amrabat. I'd love Casido. I would have loved Declan Rice. I'd love Frankie de Jong. You know, I'd love a player of that quality. And I think if you want to compete with Man City, you've got to go for players like that. But also, we haven't got that sort of a budget. We're not actually in that position, are we? So Amrabat becomes, you know, the cheap option. But West Ham are looking at Amrabat, and they've got the money from Declan Rice. So United need to get moving on some of these sales. We're terrible, absolutely terrible at doing more than one thing at once. I could tell a sexist joke there because apparently I can't do more than one thing at once. You should have seen me in my uni days. But if you don't get it, you don't get it. But I didn't go to uni. Do you think if a reasonable offer came in for Lindelof, United would be strong-armed into taking it? Well, this is a great point from Mike as well. That was going to be my second point as well. If you push Tellez and Fred to Saudi Arabia and you take 40 million, you've got 40 million instead of 20 million that you'd get on the European market. And that prevents any stupidity like that. Like, we need to raise 100 million. We can only sell about 30 million, but there's an offer on the table for Lindelof, Eric. And Eric goes, I don't want to lose Lindelof, but he is third choice centre-back. Let's just do it. You know, so this is why it's really important as well. But we're so bad at multitasking. You know, I've had it on first hand. You know, I've got the messages. United can't work on my deal at the moment because they're working on this deal. United can't sell this player at the moment because they're working on the ONANA deal. We literally are one deal. That's done. 2 deal. We can't be working on selling Fred and Tellez and buying ONANA and Højlund. It would blow the mind of United to try and do that. And that's what we need to work to, and that's why we need, obviously, the sale to go through as well. Mark, thank you very much. Mark, Maguire would suit Saudi Sissemi. There's no way he'd go there. Sean says, I really hope United can sell someone else. We will lose any remaining good signings to other teams. Glazers out, says Sean. Look, there's players that are lined up to come to United and they want to come to United and they may well wait. Højlund, Amrabat, maybe the Monaco centre-back, maybe they've got their hearts set on United and they will wait. But, I mean, look, well done if Ten Hag has such a pull that certain players will wait to join us. But on the other hand, the big thing for me here is, and it's tiring to keep, you know, pushing people down the road of evidence, but we've been down this road so many times. Casemiro and Anthony missed the first few games of the season, and they never really got up to speed until October. They didn't have a pre-season and they missed the first few games of the season. Maybe we will get Amrabat in August. Maybe we will get Højlund at the end of July, but they won't get a pre-season. And I know it frustrates Ten Hag because he wanted these players in by now. But, I mean, tomorrow, the whole of the first team is back in training and he's got Mason Mount. If you'd said to Eric Ten Hag after the FA Cup final, what do you think will happen on your first day back in training and what do you want to happen? He might have had a prediction of what was going to happen, but what he wanted to happen would be, well, I want my goalkeeper, centre-back, striker and 2 midfielders, and I want these 7 players out. So he wants 7 players out and 5 players in. He comes back to training with everybody tomorrow. He gets 1 player in and nobody out. It's not good enough, is it? If you accept a Saudi deal, there's no way of coming back to European League. Kind of retirement deal situation. The players must be thinking when dealing with what options, says Moreno. And because our recruitment team is like having 5 people trying to fix a table when you could have 1 person fix it who is quick and efficient, says the Irish Zombie. Fans must see past the financial fair play spin coming out from the club. Just look at Barcelona, over $1 billion in debt, and they just signed a teenager for 40 million, says Nick. Connor, I can't confirm that. Are you talking to Højlund himself? I can't comment on that sort of stuff. Look, I like the comment from Nick, who says that we should see past financial fair play because Barcelona will go and spend money in debt. That's the difference between a football club and a business. Manchester United are a business. Anybody who thinks that's not the case doesn't know what's going on at this football club for the last 2 decades. United's a business. You can't be a football club when you let your biggest asset rust in front of the world. I'm talking about Old Trafford. You cannot be a football club when you buy it on debt and keep it in debt, which is basically putting the club in. When you're in that much debt, it's a little bit like having the flu. You're not at your best. You're not at your strongest. Most of us, when we get the flu or a bad cold, we're not great for a few days, and then we're not brilliant for a few days after that, and then after a week or two we do get back to our best. United have been in a permanent flu state for the entirety of the Glazer ownership. You cannot be a football club that's going to be successful if you put your club through your own actions into a state of illness. And that's what the debt does. You cannot be a football club when the owner, who drives the mentality of the football club and the ambition of the football club, takes money out of the football club every year. So we are a business. We are not a football club. Barcelona, Real Madrid are football clubs. Regardless of debt, regardless of mistakes, they will always be driven by what happens on the pitch. And that will land them in financial problems, and they will get into trouble with La Liga, and they will get into trouble with UEFA on occasion, and they will get into trouble with their fans, and they will make bad decisions. But fundamentally, every decision they make is about being the best club in Spain and trying to be the best club in the world. And that's what Barcelona and Real Madrid are. And we can sometimes look at them and go, that's ridiculous what they're doing. What a silly mistake that was. Oh, Messi's had to leave. You've got no money. But it doesn't stop Barcelona winning league titles. Barcelona have won the league since Messi left. You know, they've bought loads of players since Messi left. But he had to go because of financial problems. But they're a football club. They're not driven by business ethics. They're driven by football ethics. United are driven firstly by business and secondly by football. Jack says Murta's wife must be pleased by how long he takes to finish the deal. Jack, come on. We don't need disrespectful stuff like that. Apologies. Just some tall guy. Welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. And also Phil and James Reed. Welcome to the members club as well. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. What do you think will happen with Hannibal Mabry? Says Kimu. Look, it's only an opinion. I don't think he's good enough. I know a lot of people who watched him at Birmingham and said there's a talent there, but it was never consistent and he was sometimes on the bench. You know, you look at a Premier League side that's just finished third. I don't think he belongs in that first team at the moment. I mean, Ten Hag might keep him because of numbers. He might keep him because he hasn't got the transfers he wants, but I don't see him being anywhere near ready to break into the first team. As an offer of optimism, nobody thought Rashford was ready. Nobody thought Rashford was going to be the player, which is why Rashford was the only striker we had left in the box when he got given a chance. Will Keane was going to play ahead of him, and then Rashford goes on to do that. So anything's possible, but I don't see a future for Mabry at Manchester United. And I think United will cash in. Congratulations to all Indians on Chandrayaan 3 launch. And Mark, no one is going to wait. Kim Min Jae didn't, says Tushar. What time do you think we'll get Here We Go, Mark, on ONANA? It's Man United, you know. It's a bit like when we thought we were going to get sold that Monday night and the share price shot up. A month later, we've still not been bought. Last night, we thought we were going to get Here We Go. You'd think, oh, by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. No. So, I don't know. But apparently, it's a Murta madness. You know, apparently, it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know how these people... Well, I do. I think society is fantastic and opinion is fantastic, and everyone's got brilliant, you know, differences. You know, when you walk in a supermarket and you see some of the, you know, the options there, I always wonder like who buys those. Who buys that? You know. Sometimes you're walking down a food aisle and you'll see like I don't know, them pink wafer biscuits. You can't dip them in the tea. They're ridiculously sickly, but they're always there and people buy them. People watch the One Show, you know. So people are easily impressed by inferior goods. And I don't think this is a good transfer window. I don't at the moment. And I don't apologise for that. And I don't know why anybody would think it is. We've been bombarded with excuses about not spending money about something that's not even true, financial fair play. We've spent 7 or 8 weeks buying Mason Mount. We've spent 3 weeks trying to buy ONANA. We've sold nobody. We're going on tour next week. If we go on tour, nobody's going to join that tour to train. And when we come back from tour, we're playing Wolves the week after. So I think it's really easy to predict. Well, it's not easy to predict because Ten Hag is a genius and he can defy logic. He did it last year. But I think it's very easy to state that Ten Hag's not getting a pre-season again in the way that he wanted. He's not going to have the players. He's going to have Mason Mount and ONANA and a load of players he wants to sell. That's not pre-season. That's not a pre-season. A pre-season is the team you want to win the league with, training with you for 5 weeks. Like what Pep Guardiola's going to do. Like what Arteta's going to do. Like what Klopp's going to do. United haven't even got the core of their first team to train and pre-season. So, unfortunately, I think yet again we're going into another season without a pre-season. And that's shocking. And it goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the video. The Glazers still run this football club. And I think some people forget that. We are still owned by the Glazers. I remember saying at the start of June, this is going to be a Glazer transfer window. I was getting abuse from people saying there's still time. Qatar could have the club by the end of June, start buying players by the start of July. It won't make any difference. And I said, this is a Glazer summer. People need to screw their head on and realise what it is. And what's happened, it's the middle of July. We've not been sold. Some people were even talking about, at the end of June, there's still a chance that we could get Qatar in by the middle of August and go and buy, spend a couple of $100 million. And I'm like, I feel sorry for these people because they genuinely believe that could happen. And it's not happening. We're owned by the Glazers. The only difference between last summer, the summer before that, the summer before that, and the summer before that is that there's a story that the Glazers might sell. Apart from that, we are the same club we were last year. We are the same club we were the year before. We are run by the same people in the same way, with the same board, with the same recruitment, with the same decision makers and the same people in charge and the same mentality at the top of the club. These people went behind everybody's back and tried to take us into a Super League. These people have taken money out. They've let the ground rust. They've destroyed the infrastructure. They're still in charge. They are still in charge of this football club. And for some strange reason, some of our fans think they're not. Some of our fans have this fantasy in their head that they're not in charge. That any minute now we're going to be owned by Qatar. And there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that that's going to be the case anytime in the next 3 months. And it might not even be Qatar, even if it is. This could run and run and run. We, as ridiculous as it sounds, a Christmas tree could be behind me, Christmas jumpers on, and we're still owned by the Glazers. I mean, what's the chance of that? You'd say no chance, but if I'd said to you in January, by the middle of July, we'd still be in the position, you wouldn't have believed that either. So, who knows? Who knows? Good morning, all. Only way to scare Glazers is to cancel games, just like the Liverpool game a couple of years ago, says Touré. And Rice is training in Portugal with Bruno. Arsenal fans are just as frustrated as us because they are taking so long to get Declan over the line, says Mandy. And Mark, the Glazers seem to want to give the middle one to their fans. At least they don't care about their fans and customers. Give them one back, says Umar. John says, I really think they're trying to raise funds to stay. Just going back to what Mandy said there, I mean, there's a big difference between Arsenal fans being frustrated about Declan Rice and Man United fans being frustrated. Let's expose those differences. Arsenal were in a title race last year. Arsenal have got a better infrastructure than us. Arsenal have spent £200 million this summer and will probably spend more. We've spent 55. I'd rather have Arsenal's frustration. Hi Mark, Andrew from South Africa. With the transfer boost, can't we look at Rasmus and Amrabat as well? And what's your feeling for the upcoming season, says Andrew. It's way too early to predict next season. If you want me to do it now, and I will always try and answer a question rather than sitting on the fence, I think that if I was predicting next season now, I'd probably plonk us into third. Purely on Ten Hag's genius. On actual squad improvement from last year and how last season went, because I think we defended our ways to third last year. I think we were a very resolute, organised team. If Liverpool and Chelsea improve and everybody else improves, you could easily drop us into fifth. But I just trust Ten Hag. I don't know how Ten Hag from Christmas until certainly March ground out so many wins. And I don't think you can ignore that. So I'd still put us into third even though you could easily drop us to 5th or 6th. It's only faith in Ten Hag that makes me put us into 3rd or 4th. But absolutely, I've got no problem with somebody saying we'll be lucky to get 5th, because it only takes Liverpool to get back in the race, and then that's Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City, which means you're fighting for 4th. Beware of Aston Villa, says Eric. Look, I love the chat. I love the community, and I love the way that we can just go off into different tangents. I actually was out last night, and I was watching Faz's show, and I was home by then. I was playing pool, watching the Faz show, and I had a message from a Villa fan about Moussa Diaby, the winger, and they were like, "What do you think?" I've got a lot of friends who support a lot of clubs, and they'll message me and say, "What do you think about this player?" Because obviously I do it for a living, and I speak to you good people, and we know a lot about a lot of things and transfers. And they said, "What do you think about Diaby?" And I said, "Fantastic. What a signing if you get him. Brilliant." And they said, "Do you think we've got any chance of getting João Felix?" I said, "Well, look, Villa had a bloody good season last season, and Emery didn't have a transfer window and was only there for half the season and didn't have a pre-season. He's got a pre-season now, and they're bringing in players like Tielemans, Pau Torres, which just expand their squad. I mean, Tyrone Mings is left-footed centre-back, and they've brought Pau Torres in. Tielemans comes in, but they've already got some good midfielders. You bring Diaby in as well. That's another, really positive signing. And they potentially could get João Felix. I mean, but Brighton are a team to watch. I don't think Spurs will bounce back, but, Newcastle will be up there. We are not, and have got no divine right to say we'll automatically get top 4 next season. That sort of arrogance is why we've had so many bad seasons in the last 10 years. Where Manchester United, it doesn't work. And I would be worried about Aston Villa. I think, I wouldn't say they've had a better transfer window than us, but they potentially could. And they're a well-run club with a good manager and some good players who are very energetic. And the great thing about what Emery's got, he's got a team that completely plays the way he wants to play. I don't think Ten Hag's got those players yet. But it's a worry. It is a worry, because we're still... I think for me, we've got the manager. 100% we've got the manager. We've got some of the players. But the big problem with that football club is we're still owned by the Glazers. And it's not just the Glazers. It's the next stage. There's things in that football club that are just pure Glazer. And that is always going to be a problem when you're up against clubs that are run well. Man City are run well. Well, who's run better than Man United? Man City, Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool. You could argue maybe Chelsea. I mean, they were run badly last year, but the heart's in the right place. I'd say Villa, Brighton. I can think of 7 clubs that are run better than Manchester United and can compete with us. Brentford are run better than us. They can't really compete with us. But I can think of 6 or 7 clubs that are run better than us and can compete with us. There's probably only Spurs that I'd go, yeah, we're run better than them. So, that's the challenge Ten Hag's up against. It's not just the inability to sell players. It's not just the inability to get the players he wants in. It's also the fact that the club that who are his bosses aren't as good as everybody else in relation to how they run it. Anyway, Remy, thank you very much. When do you think we're going to get Here We Go? We're ready to go when we get Here We Go, but I don't know. It could be any time. Apparently, the agreement is very close between Inter and Manchester United for ONANA. Is expected to close the signing in the next few hours, first few days of next week at the latest. You know what? Can somebody just... I want to symbolise what Man United are at transfers. Joy suckers. But that sounds good. A joy sucker actually sounds quite appealing, doesn't it? Without being rude. But we do suck the joy out of every deal. One day, I just want to not know much about this. Imagine if, when we thought De Gea was going to stay, and then a story came out, United looking at ONANA. And then 5 hours later, here we go, United have bought ONANA. Imagine what that would feel like. Basically, imagine Christmas Day morning, total surprise, you get your dream gift. United tell you what you're getting for Christmas in June. But they don't give it you till Christmas. Like, it doesn't mean the thing that you're getting's bad. It's just the excitement just taken out of it, isn't it? Completely. There are certain content creators who slander Bruno, Rashford, Shaw, Garnacho, but praise Martial, Sancho because they are ballers. Thoughts, says Tony. I don't know, Tony, because I don't watch certain other creators. Everybody's got their little niches, haven't they? Anyway, look, I could go on and on. I'm hoping at some point we're going to be live with a Here We Go today. Let's wait and see if that actually happens. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Check out OneFootball. You can scan the QR code next to me. Big shout out to them. Fantastic app you can download for free. You just hold up your camera on that QR code and it will send you there. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people were getting very excited about ONANA last night. To be honest with you, in relation to ONANA, whether you speak to Fabrizio or any other good source, they will say, could have been last Friday, could have been Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Could have. It's Man United. I'm not tapped into the ONANA deal like I am the Højlund deal. And what people need to understand is Fabrizio Romano is not negotiating the deal. Otherwise, we'd already have Here We Go. I am not negotiating the Rasmus Højlund deal. Otherwise, we'd already have Here We Go. What we know is that player, club, manager want these deals. But the negotiators will take it away. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Apparently there's a story on Harry Kane. I might just do a quick video on That's Football about that then, because obviously I've done that on here now. Because I've got a bit about Harry Kane about That's Football and buying anyway. Keep an eye out for that. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like. We will be back live when we get Here We Go or anything else. Take care everyone. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you all in a bit.